Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat. We're so glad you're here with us today. This is the place where writers like to gather together and talk about all things writing, about writers, and for writers. So we're really glad you're with us here today. And it's so good to see all our good friends over in the chat room, and we'll have some of them back on later. And if you're here watching the recording, thank you for taking time to learn more about our craft and our skills in writing. My name's Jean Wise. I'm joined today by our two co-hosts, Johnny Alexander and Bethany Jett. And we're going to turn it over to Bethany today to kind of run the show. She's got some slides to share with us and a really good update I'm excited to hear about. So, Bethany, let's turn it over to you and see what you have to share with us.
Okay, hey everybody. I'm excited, and if you have taken any of my classes like at a writer's conference, then some of these slides might look a little familiar, but I have updated and actually pulled some of the most current stuff that I could find off of one of Hootsuite's blogs. It was chock full of information, and I'll make sure that I drop the link to that like in the chat, and then we can put it in the Facebook group as well. So okay, so I'm super excited, and I'm going to share screen, and hopefully we'll be able to like see slides well. So I'll need you guys to tell me if it looks good or crazy. So if it looks crazy, then I'll just look at it and just talk. All right, so looks good. You guys can see that okay? All right. So one of the first things is that social media is a gift. So for everybody who is in the chat with us, participation-wise, if you why don't you like rate your level of love for social media, like from a 1 to 5, maybe in the chat. For me, I love it. It's a 5, and I think that we are blessed to live in a time where I'm looking for my phone. We're just like one click away, which is the thing I always say. We're one click away from sharing our message. And so as writers, we all have something that we want to tell and we want to say. And sometimes we get so focused on getting the book published that we don't want to share content. You know, like it has to be proprietary, like it's the best thing that anyone has ever seen or will ever read, and we have to wait for it to be in the book. And I think that can be a selfish way of thinking, because wouldn't it be better to start sharing that content in different ways, in different voice, which is what social media would be, versus writing a book? So I think think of social media as like a happy place. And for those of you who don't really like social media, when I thought social media was stupid, like when it first came out, like I remember when Facebook was only for college students, and I thought, why would we want to connect with anybody, you know, from days past, like, you know, and then Twitter and hashtags, I thought that was just stupid. Like, why would anyone want to search for anything based on a hashtag? Like, what is that? And so, so I have obviously evolved quite a bit from those days of hating it so very much. But I started using it as an escape from work or writing. And so when I needed a break from something that I was doing, then I got to check Facebook. I was able to go on Twitter. And if you start changing your mindset, it can really change a lot of how you view these things, and not as a time waste, but as exciting. So social media is a gift. And I also think that authors and writers and businesses from even 20 years ago and all the way since the beginning of time would have appreciated the ability to reach out to their audience and readers and consumers, and we complain about it. So that's my soapbox. If your goal is to sell books on social, you'll lose every single time because you'll come across as a used car salesman. So the idea behind social is not to sell the book as much as it is to connect with your reader and share the idea. And then selling the book, if it's a third or fourth goal on your list of goals, I mean, it's a good goal to have, but if it's the main goal, it's not going to work. And so you can see accounts like this when they'll go into groups and they'll share when their book thing, and it's like, this is not a self-promotion kind of thing, and that's how it comes across, and then you don't want to read anything by them anymore. So we have to be careful that we have that our focus isn't to sell the book. If the purpose is to get the message across, you'll come across so much more authentic and genuine. And then when you do mention the book, people are more likely that you've connected with to want to actually pick it up. Feel free to interject at any time. Kind of keeping an eye on the chat too. But I just want to say that in the chat, I saw some 3s and 4s and 5s. And Mom, you were one of the 3s.
Yeah.
So are you a 3.1 or a 2.9? That's my question.
I thought I was muted, and then I unmuted, and I was already, I don't know, I did the wrong thing. I'm a 3, and I kind of go up and down. So it's like, you know, I get to where I'm really enjoying something, and then I just get tired of it, and I like slide back maybe even to a 2, and then I have to sort of work my way up. The place I'm most consistent, as you know, is Facebook, and the others are more hit and miss for me. Facebook, I do every day, and I don't always put stuff on my things, but I'm liking other people's things and interacting with other people. I feel like that's really where a lot of my audience is, and a lot of my friends, and, you know, and people that, even friends that I've never met in real life. So Facebook is sort of my deal. But yeah, it's an up and down kind of thing for me. Social media is.
But you can make such wonder. Look at just Writers Chat. You know, I feel like I know, and I haven't met all of you in person, but I tell you, you feel like you know them in person. And what a neat way to use social media to build your audience and probably find some good influencers for your work too as a writer.
Yeah. Well, and I think like with Facebook, one of the big benefits for me as an author, as a writer, is the ability to do these groups and just be in so many different groups, because like there are several of us that will get together to try to do like a Barber novella collection, and we create a group so we can share research and our proposals, and as we're working to get that proposal together, or, you know, and then when that proposal sells, then we're working together. What are our marketing plans going to be? What can we do? What can each of us do? So, you know, it's just like those groups themselves are so helpful as just an interaction relationship kind of thing.
It can be negative. Rhonda referred to that. And I just unfollow people that get political or get negative, and I kind of take it as a personal mission. I'm particularly talking about Facebook right now, is to be a positive Christian influence on Facebook. That's what I decided a long time I was going to do, and if I just unfollow them, you know. So I've almost to the place I'm over the anger. It's just like, ugh, okay, here, I'm done. But you know, the thing I think I get the most overwhelmed, Bethany, is like you said, there are so many of them, and it's becomes, I should be doing more with, I get some new readers from Pinterest and Instagram, and I should be doing a much better job over there than what I am. And then I feel guilty, and then I keep thinking, okay, in June I'm going to work on it, and the next thing I know it's July and I haven't touched it, so I don't know.
No, I hear you.
Yeah. So it gets to be, they're calling it a rat race in the chat. And I think it's a lot, sometimes it feels like a lot of busyness, to be honest, you know, spinning our wheels at it.
And we'd rather be writing. Melissa said, Rhonda agrees, I agree, yes. I'd rather be writing.
What's the statistic, Bethany? Something that we're supposed to spend, is it like 50-50 or 60-40 or something like that? I've heard it. Say it again. I'm sorry. Say it again.
But like some people say 50-50 marketing writing, some people say 60-40, and that number can jump on the other end. But I kind of think of you can do a lot of writing as part of social media, and you can call that your marketing or you can call it your writing, but you can be doing like mini blog posts, you can be writing articles. I know my fiction people in here are balking at that because they want to be writing the novel portion. But I think that you can grow your readership by writing some nonfiction articles or blog posts that have to do with the concept of your book, because you're doing so much research, and all that research is lost from your point of view and your perspective if you're not sharing it and you know, using those skills as well. So like I know it's a time thing, and it's always going to be. I mean, and the thing is, it's social media right now. I don't know that this concept is ever going to go away, but it'll be interesting to see how it evolves, over the next few years even. So
Mhm.
let's talk about blogs.
And I may be jumping ahead, but when you were in like New York and stuff, did you pick up any new trends when it comes to that? Or are you going to cover that? Am I jumping ahead?
For social media?
Yes, for social media.
Oh, I took 2 panels. I sat in 2 marketing panels, and they were by bookstore owners. And I realized that they market the way authors do, and except they're marketing for multiple authors. And so the question never came up. I mean, this is what I really walked away with. I learned a lot in there. And I think I'm doing a part 2 in here, so I could probably share some of that stuff next week because it's like an hour long of content that I got. But what I really walked away with was the attitude of the people at the Book Expo America. It was general market. Some Christian authors were there too. But the people who were in the marketing class with me, it was never a question of which, how long, how much time, all the questions that we kind of asked. It was, how do I do this better? How do I reach the audience? It was all the marketing type of questions that like a company would ask. Like, how do I reach them at the right time? Like, if I know my reader is this demographic, then what platform, and where am I going to hit them with this content on which platform at what time, which is what I'm learning in my marketing class too, about really hitting the user. And so the questions were just deeper and more like, how do we get this message to the right people, which I think saves time then, because when we're not spinning our wheels thinking like throwing things onto social and trying to figure out what sticks because we don't have a plan.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a plan today.
All right. Go for it.
We're going to focus on Instagram. You know that was coming.
Well, that's one area I know I need help in. So we'll turn it back over to you. This is great.
Okay. So I'm going to do another share. And is it up?
Yes.
Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So your audience doesn't only read blogs. And I love this concept because it was, I don't know if you guys can see or read this. I'm just going to read the highlighted blue part. This was from a post where whoever the author of this was talking about someone named @theskinnyconfidential was her username. And she said, I engage with almost every single bit of content that she puts out, but then I started realizing I rarely go to her actual website. Instead, she was following her Snapchats and listening to her podcast every week. And so that made me think, there's a few people that I love and follow all the time, and I rarely go to their websites too. Gary Vee being one of them. You guys know I love Gary Vee. I follow him on Instagram, I follow his podcast, and I follow him on YouTube. Those are the 3 main ones that I follow him on. And then I started thinking about some other people that I really like, and most of them are on Instagram. And I thought, okay, we're teaching this big concept where we have to be, making sure we get people back to our website. And I still agree with that. And I think that we should have some accumulation of blogging maybe and micro blogging. And I think each one of us would probably fall into a different camp. So I'm gonna stop here for a second. So for people who are bloggers, you have all this amazing content. It's in the right place because you own your website, and so it is safe content. Facebook and Instagram went down last week, and so if you jump over to Twitter when that happens, it's the funniest things ever. Like, the memes there are so fun, which is why I think you should have a Twitter too, because if Facebook and Instagram go down, which they did, then you have to have a place to connect. But I was thinking too about the importance of having content on the website because I would lose everything if I couldn't get back into Instagram. So some people fall into the blogger category. I think other people will fall into, they are more comfortable on social media, and so they do these micro blogs, these shorter form content on social media. And so what we have to do is we have to decide which one am I going to be primary, and then now get this content to the other, cross it over. And so if you're blogging regularly on your website, all you have to do is pull content and put it onto the social media posts that it's appropriate for in the appropriate tone. And then if you're not blogging, but you're doing your micro blogging on social media, which is where I would fall, I need to go back and pull some of that content and get it over onto my website in more of an article or blog format for people when they're searching. And so I think that no matter which side that you're in, you have to step out of your comfort zone to hit the other side so that you've got this synergy happening. Does that make sense? Okay.
So it's more of like a partnership. You're saying link them and combine them and make it a partnership.
I think it is, yeah. And I think what this, the audience doesn't only read blogs. They don't. They're on social. And so we have to be pulling content this way. But on the other hand, if people are searching, like if I've got like 3 great tips on my Instagram blog post, that's not searchable. So I'm not allowing anybody to find those tips if I only leave it there. I've got to start pulling the content out and writing, putting in like a blog post form. And I think the way blogs, I think they've changed too. I don't know that people want to go read a blog post about your daily life because they can see that on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. Like that's where the visual comes in. So I think blog posts do really well now when they're searchable, they're tips, they're how-tos, they're things that people are looking for so that Google picks them up and then they can have access to that content when they're looking for it. That's the only time I read Gary Vee's blog, just as a personal note, is when I'm looking for something specific on social media or marketing, and I'll type his name in plus whatever I'm looking for to get to his website. But other than that, I'm following him on YouTube and Instagram mostly, Are we missing anything in the comments before we keep going?
Well, I think people are just agreeing with you.
Okay.
Yes.
What did Dory say earlier? She says the issue is that since I've been trying to build my platform, I don't personally know so many of my friends, and I'm losing the personal touch. People who read my posts because they know me. How do I fix that?
I'm not sure that that's something to fix. Is it really? I mean, I think you can just still be as personable as before, but just know that you're reaching perhaps a wider audience. And I don't know what the statistics now are either as far as, I'm sorry, Rugby is digging through the food.
We'll take Rugby. We're happy.
It's just, why? It's been there all morning. Why now? Anyway, not everyone's going to see what you post anyway, right? I mean, I think it's those percentages have just really dropped. So where it used to be almost everybody you were friends with would see everything you did, that doesn't happen. So my advice to Dory would just still be yourself. Just be who you are. Write it like you're writing to your friends, and then other people will read it or not. I mean, they'll just skim by it if they're not interested.
And I think having some engagement with them, through comments or through questions or some sort of discussion or generally showing interest kind of makes it more two-way too, a two-way friendship.
And Rhonda said the ones who want personal contact tend to comment or like and focus on them and don't worry about the others. And I agree. Yeah. Oh, Melissa has a different take on it. Someone want to read that? Go, Bet.
Okay, so Melissa said, I think what Dory is addressing is that social feeds become filled with info from strangers, and you can't always see what your personal friends and family are posting, and it can make you feel disengaged. So the way the algorithm works is you are seeing content that you're interacting with, and so if you do not want to see the stuff from strangers, then don't like or click on them and start clicking more intentionally on the people that you do want, like for Instagram, for example, specifically. Kids in the background, and you'll stop seeing them. You can also on Twitter, you can mute people. So even if you're following them and you don't want to unfollow, but you really don't want to see their stuff, you can mute. And then Facebook has like a top 10 or see first. I think 10 people can be put in there so that you'll always see their content. So they do give you different ways to do that. But like I said, on Instagram anyway, the more you interact, the more they'll show you those people's feeds, which is actually a good thing for us as marketers because Gary Vaynerchuk says you can't over spam on Facebook or Instagram because the people who are seeing your content are the ones who are interacting with it. And so, I mean, you don't want to do like 5 in a row, but you could do multiple in a day. And, the chance of them seeing at least one of them is then higher. And the more you can get them to interact with your post, the better. It means the more you'll show up like in their feed. So, yeah, Josie is busy back here. But I like what Jane said because actually that's the next slide. It's all about engagement. So the different platforms reward you for different things. Like Instagram has a save button now, so if you get people to save your post, then that counts higher for you. The like and the comments also push, Facebook and share and things like that. So I always say that platforms are like kids because they each have their own personality, even if like all three of my boys are so different, and yet I think how. So anyone who has kids or grandkids or knows kids, they're different. And so with social media, it's the same thing. So like if you were to take the very same two sentences and put them on all of your social media, probably meaning Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, you would probably get different feedback and different results from all five. Some of them you might get nothing. On one of them you might get a higher thing because it actually sounded like that platform. So it's a lot like author voice and how we learn our writing voice. You have to have the right voice for each platform. And that can include things like style or hashtags. Like the number of hashtags being used can look awkward on Facebook especially, whereas on Instagram it's expected, or on Twitter if you use too many it can feel weird. Pinterest has pulled hashtags back again, so it's okay there again too, but you just got to know how conversational you need to be, how businessy you need to be, how personal you need to be, all those things. So, and this is just a look at, I pulled this off of Gary Vaynerchuk's website. This was at the bottom of his, and he has all the social media platforms here, and then he tells you what you're going to get from each one of them. Well, I love this because he says how he uses it and then what you can expect. So basically he's saying, I'm putting my content everywhere, and if you like it this way, then this is where you're going to want to follow me. He's not telling people to follow him everywhere. He's letting you pick the way you want to follow.
Oh, I am on. Can you tell us each of those things for sure? I think I know them. I'm not sure if I know what the lower right one is.
Okay, so the lower right one would be his podcast.
Oh.
With the person in the circle. So okay. I can just go across and read him how he worded them if you'd like. Yeah. I think it's really smart. The top one, this one is Instagram. He said, my favorite place, quote stories in your chance to win the hashtag 60sec SEC club for 60 second club, which is something that he does. So like if he posts with that hashtag, everybody who comments within the first 60 seconds goes into a drawing and to win something. And so the way you know that is by turning on notifications. So he has a bunch of people getting notified every time that he posts something, because sometimes there'll be a prize. That's a really smart marketing tactic to do, even if you were to do it only once a month with a $5 Amazon gift card, right? YouTube is next. He says, documenting my life through hashtag DailyV and hashtag AskGaryV, which are two shows that he does. Facebook is next. He says, my biggest platform. Join the Vayner Nation, which is his tagline name, and stay up to date on everything I do. Then he has Twitter. He says, the most direct and personal way to reach me for one-on-one conversations.
Wow.
Snapchat, an inside look at my life not shared anywhere else. LinkedIn is my business profile, and then he has VaynerMedia is hiring under that. And then this next circle is Medium, which we talked about, medium.com as a place to write. He says, where I share my thoughts in detail there. And then the next one is his podcast. And he said, perfect for your commute. Listen daily to keynotes, interviews, rants, business, and then I cut it off. So a lot of his keynotes that are on YouTube, he'll also put on his podcast. And so depending if I want to see him or if I want to listen to him, I will choose one of those two.
It'd be interesting to challenge each of us to make a graph like that for our own business side of our writing ministry or speaking ministry. Because like I would have Pinterest on there because I get a lot from Pinterest and he doesn't. And I've had not very good results from Medium, I will tell you that. And, but I like how he has specifically named his purpose for each of those. Yeah. And that's all kind of in my head, but I don't think I've ever put it in words anyplace. I think that'd be a great homework assignment for us, teacher.
I think so too. And I think it tells your readers, like, listen, this is like, depending on what you're looking for, here's where you can find me. Then this is what I'll give you. And I love that take on the whole thing. I love it. people say the wheels are spinning, and it's laid out right there. I know, he's brilliant. He really is. For those of you who aren't familiar with him, he has millions of followers on all the platforms, not like on one or two. He has captured beautifully how to do this across all of them. And so when people are freaking out about algorithm changes and stuff, I watch what he does. Is he getting off of Facebook business, or is he posting more often? Like, he tells you, follow what I do. Like, I'm telling you what I do, and just do it too. He says most people won't do it, which is why he can give all this information away for free. And I think his model is to share everything, and he'll still have 5 New York Times bestselling books because he has built the audience and created this, it's called the deficit of giving. That's what I call it, because he gives so much that when he finally has to ask for a book, I'm so indebted to him for all the content that he's given me, the way I've grown from his content. I'll buy the book, and maybe I'll buy 3. You know, maybe he'll have a bonus, and I'll have 2 to give away. He did a Target challenge where if he took a picture in front of Target with his book the day that it released, the first 100 people would get something. So don't you know, I already had a copy of it, but I still went to Target, did a photo, and they sent, they had, I think it was 500 or 100, I don't remember, posters signed, and it had the number of the poster, and we've got it framed, and then a t-shirt. And I thought, okay, how much do I love him? You know, like, but that generated a lot of buzz about the book release because it was a limited edition kind of thing. I mean, so the marketing is really smart and not hard. But the thing is, he built an audience of people who like to learn from him because he doesn't hide it. It's the same content that he has on social media and his podcast. He'll tell you it's the same stuff, but people learn better from a book, and that's when change happens. So he said he gets more emails about, I finally changed, I finally took action after the book releases, even though he's been sharing that content on all the other platforms for so long. He said that's just the way we are. And I think that's encouraging to us as writers. And I think it's why we should be spending 50, 60% on our marketing and doing our writing, because when the time comes to get the book deal, to have the book sell, whether you traditionally or self-publish, you want that audience to be there to buy the book.
Wow.
Whoa.
Woo, that sounds great. I just think we should I bet we could develop our own cheat sheet. So we have to put that as an assignment later, maybe on our Writers Chat members page. I think that's great. Or maybe a copy of that slide to remind us. That would be great on that. Okay. What do you got?
Okay, ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go. All right, let me know when you... All right, can you guys see this?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so these are the Bethany Jet questions to ask before posting on social media. This is kind of like a checklist that I go through in my head, but not like I have to be specific. I don't actually sit there and think every single time I post something. Like, I don't go through all 5, but I realized that these were kind of the 5 criteria that I do ask myself, depending on what kind of post it is. And if it doesn't get a yes on all 5, it doesn't get posted. All right, so here they are. So I'll just go through them. The first one was, do I believe in it as a brand? And so, like, even though it might be something that I believe in personally, like politics, my brand as Bethany Jet author is not a political brand. And so I usually don't post on politics on social media because it's not part of my branding. So, like, or any controversial topics, I'm not really a controversial kind of brand. Although if there is a topic that's in the news that does fit my brand, then that is one I will stand on. So I kind of differentiate between what I think personally and then what I think of as my brand for posting on some social media. So, like, Twitter would be an easier one to get away with talking about politics and things like that because it's so conversational. But I just think, does it fit in line with my brand, because I don't want to do a bait and switch on my audience. And so if I don't ever talk about something and then all of a sudden I jab them with something controversial that I haven't built up or built into my platform, that feels harsh, like an attack almost. And so that's why I don't do it. So I kind of differentiate a little bit on those 2 things, where I might talk more about like politics and things like that in a personal thing, not on a business one. So then number 2, does it add value? So I have lots of photos that I take during the day, and there's really nothing I can pull in for value or entertainment. And so then it just doesn't need to be posted. Like it can be texted to like family or something, maybe put on Twitter. I don't know. And then 3, is it visually attractive? This is for like photos and videos get shared a lot more than non-video or photos. But I also mean, does the text look nice? Like, is there white space? Is everything like jumbled up into, 10 sentences all together? Did I add some emojis in there? And that's something I want to talk about next week is the style guide, because that is something I learned during the Book Expo America is creating a style guide, and I think that'll be fun. So we'll talk about that next week. Then number 4 is, what are the objections? And so this was something I learned in sales, because there's only so many objections to somebody like booking a party or buying your stuff, right? So if you know how to overcome the objections, it makes a more natural conversation. And typically, overcoming an objection in sales is there's usually fear on the side of the customer. And so basically you're just helping them overcome that fear to get to a decision. Anyway, so I think about that in terms of social media as well. So, which falls in line with the last one, which is, am I willing to spend time defending it? So I think of social media, and I think we all really should think of it this way. It's, would you treat someone on social media the way you would treat them if they came over to your home? Because that's what social media is. It's rooms. And if you are the host or it's your profile, you are the host of that room and you have invited people in to have a conversation. So if you're going to say something, and then you're going to walk away and let everyone fight it out in the comments, you're not doing your job. You wouldn't do that if somebody came to your house. Same way with like trolls. Like if someone was being ugly, you'd ask them to leave, right? So like that's why there's no problem like just muting, blocking, getting people out, because there is a social etiquette. And now that social media has been around for so long, like, at first I was like, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And now it's like, you don't get a second chance. Like I wouldn't let you do this in person. You don't get to do it online. And so I think of the objections, like what are people going to say in like a negative response? And then I think about how much do I believe in this, to the fact that, yeah, I'll stand here and I'll have spend an hour fighting this in the comments if I have to. And so like, if I can kind of just go through all those and it's all a check for me, then it gets posted. So any thoughts, questions? I can leave this slide up.
Yeah, because Dory and I were just kind of having a conversation about that in a chat, and she said this is exactly what she needed, because she, is opinionated, likes to do that, but doesn't want to get into those arguments because of the business. So this was just perfect. But I'm also, just as to give an example of what you said about your brand and how much of it is, what is your brand and who are you? And I think about my daughter Jillian, who a lot of you know, and she has really within the last several months built up a brand for Clothes and Curves. And I'm really not giving just a plug here. There's a point to this. So she's doing body positivity, and it can be controversial. And she does sometimes have to really think about what she has posted, and she has been criticized deeply for things that she has posted. And yet, this is what she's doing. This is who she's speaking to. She's building an audience, and she has women writing to her every single day, thanking her for what she is doing and what she's putting out there, and for the courage she has.
Right. Rugby. Yes, I will say that that's good. And so for her, all of those things she's posting get checked off. She gets a yes on all of them, right? Like, because she's willing to spend time defending it. And she's also built up a group of people where if she doesn't get to the comment first, her fan base will go after the person being negative for her, which is a great thing. So, but I do know that for this stuff for her, she would go back in there herself if she needed to. Some people just need to be ignored. Let's just say that. Some people are going to be ugly and you just ignore them or block them. I'm not talking about those trolls or anything like that. I think too, I learned this lesson the hard way, because it was a couple years ago. I think it was in the last election cycle. And I made a comment that I thought was pretty tame, But I had somebody follow me who had no idea my political side because I was so like for women, and like she got real mad. And then I realized as a brand, I had not brought people into that side of me or the things that I talked about. And I thought, you know what? If I'm going to want to say those things, which I'm going to want to, I need to start having that be part of what I do, where I start speaking up in slow ways and small ways to get to the point where during a time like that, I can say it and it's not a surprise, right? Like, just like if you're a Christian and your social media following doesn't know, then you might not want to blast them with something super spiritual. Maybe we start easing into it, right? To get there. That's just what that's one of the things about the objections and the brand things. I thought, how does she not know? And I thought, well, maybe I don't talk about it, and maybe I need to. And so that, so those are the kinds of questions to be asking ourselves, I think.
It's like identifying the elements in your brand or the components of your persona that's online or something. And I don't want to make that sound like we're fake. Right. It's part of what is the reason why are we there, and what can we do about that? And I think you gave a great example, because if you're saying something for defending women or whatever your approach was on that, and they did not know where you were coming from, you were thrown her for a little bit of a loop, So it's.
She felt like that for sure.
Yeah. I like what Rhonda says. It reminds me of a courtship. There are 5 questions. Your questions would work in the courtship environment. But we are courting our followers, is what she was saying. Yeah.
I think it's good to find the issues that you are going to be strong and speak out on, and you have to figure out, like, what are those things, and then really stand on them. Like, Jill's doing a really great job with that in there. So the things that I have next are some stats on Instagram.
Yeah.
If we're ready to there.
Yep.
Okay. So I did just get these updated, and again, this is from the majority of this is from an updated Hootsuite blog, which I will share the link. And I was surprised about a couple of them, so I'm super excited to kind of go through these. All right. Before I tell you how many people are on Instagram every month, does anybody have a guess?
2. I was going to say hundreds of thousands, or maybe millions.
So I did see a blog post from Gary Vee. He was talking about Instagram, and he had a circle, like a pie chart. And instead of doing like the 80-20 rule, which I know we're all kind of familiar with, like 80-20, rule, he does a 79-81 just to be different. So he always has like either 79 or 21, 79-21, right? Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So so in the tiny little 21% for him were all the social media platforms where he's going to spend his time, except Instagram, which was in the 79% bubble by itself. And so because it has the attention right now. So Instagram has 1 billion monthly active users. These are active users, not just people who have accounts. They are the number 2 platform after Facebook, and Facebook owns Instagram.
Yeah.
So that's why I really think we should be on LinkedIn and Twitter as well, even if they're not doing as good, because when and if these go down, then you're stuck. So 88%. So I knew it was over 80, but 88% of Instagram users are not inside of the United States. And
wow.
So if you think of marketing in terms of Eastern Standard Time versus Pacific, we are missing the majority of Instagram users. So things to think about. I've actually been thinking about using hashtags that aren't in English, maybe doing some Spanish hashtags that would go along with it, just to see if that might help pull a following, a bilingual following. So just things to think about. We need to be thinking about our marketing globally and internationally, and not just in the US, because we're in the minority here when it comes to Instagram. All right, so I don't know how big this is on the screen for everybody, but this was a chart on that Hootsuite blog, and then distribution of Instagram users worldwide. And the point here was that men and women are pretty evenly matched when it comes to age demographic about who's using Instagram. So I thought this was interesting, where I would have said it was majorly more women. This was saying not really. It is, but it's very close. So, Dory said if we're not, oh, Jean, I think you're muted. Jean, I can't hear you. Is it just me?
Hey, how about that? That better? It helps if I unmute myself. Anyway, Dory asked if we're not targeting an international audience, and what if we're not targeting 18 to 44-year-olds? Should we even bother with Instagram?
Yes, I think so. I don't think you have to target. I think, but we need to be thinking about the fact that I don't know any kind of marketing strategy where I would say I'm only going after like this little bit when I know there's a big bit. So like you don't have to use like other languages in your hashtags, but like you have to know who your audience is. And if they're mostly US, which mine are, my audience is mostly US, then I market US based. But I also don't want to miss out on people who might not be searching hashtags that I'm using specifically because they're in a different language, but they might be able to speak English. Maybe so I'm thinking about ways to maybe move out of English only. Mom?
Well, I was going to say too, when you're talking about 1 billion people, even if you only have like 0.001% of that audience, that's going to be a lot of people, you know. So, yeah, I don't think you want to overlook it.
And then Tina asked about same hashtags in other countries. I don't know. That's something I want to explore, actually. Like, see, you know, and I think that's going to be different depending on everyone's audience too, like which hashtags are most used in other languages, because they might be English based. I mean, it might be that people in other countries are using English hashtags. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
This was a surprising statistic to me, was that Instagram has surpassed Snapchat in terms of the teen numbers, and that there's such a high number using Instagram. I loved this one because video is such a big deal, and that 95% of Instagram users also use YouTube.
Wow.
And 91% use Facebook. So that's a higher percentage of Instagram users using YouTube versus using Facebook, even though Facebook has like over 2 billion people on it. And then they also have the highest interaction rate, which I think this should make us feel better about how much engagement that we get, because 2.2% is the engagement.
That seems low. Yeah.
But yet the next highest one is Facebook, and it's 0.2. It's not even half of a percent.
Wow.
So like I think this is the big kicker when it comes to, you know, I'm not getting engagement on Facebook. You're probably not, because it's got a 0.2 interaction rate, but Instagram is much higher. And so it's another reason why, you know, let's jump on the Instagram train here. And then 500 million people use Instagram stories, which is kind of behind the scenes look and things in Instagram. And then I was surprised by this as well, according to the Hootsuite blog, that the highest YouTube or Instagrammer is a professional soccer player named Cristiano. I think it's Ronaldo.
Wow.
But the Hootsuite had I think they had like 150 million, and I checked this morning and he's at 174 million. He surpassed Kim Kardashian.
Wow.
I don't even think she's next in line. According to the Hootsuite blog, I think Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande were the next two most popular. And then Instagram is the #1 business account. They've got the most, which makes sense. But anyway, I thought this was crazy. That's a lot of people. And just a few more stats. Most minutes used per day for Facebook and Instagram. And then 71% of US businesses use Instagram. And so if you're an author, then you're a biz. And then 60% of users discover products. And so having your Instagram be a business account, which I recommend doing, because it links to your Facebook business page, you can run ads and things there. And I know I've purchased several things through Instagram's app, because you don't have to leave the app. You can just buy right through Instagram. And you know, there's just a lot of trust built into the system now.
Wow.
And then these are the when I teach this, like when I teach an Instagram specific class, these are just the things that I go over, like what they are, so people like know. But Instagram's powerful because it's like a mini website, honestly, but you don't want to keep all your content there because if they go down, then you lose it. But stories is like these little behind the scenes videos. It's a great place to get started feeling comfortable with video. Highlights are places where you can save certain stories. So people come to you because we're all what's the word here? We all have so many interests and things. Like we're not just one thing, we're complex. And so if somebody comes to you because, like Jean, for Advent, they might come to you for that. So you can have an entire highlight section devoted there. And then you can have a whole other one devoted to Ohio eateries or whatever, just places around Ohio or whatever it is that you're going to do. And so people can come to you for multiple ways, but they can go and look for specific things in the highlights. And then top 9 is what we used to call the 9 pictures because stories hadn't come out yet and the highlights hadn't come out yet. So you could see, 9 boxes, but you don't see 9 boxes anymore on your phone. So Jill, my sister, came up with Content 6, which is actually the last thing that I wanted to talk about. So everybody could start thinking about their own Content 6. And then microblogging is just longer form posting on Instagram because people will read longer there. And then using hashtags, you can use up to 30. And so like once you know your Content 6, which I'll show you in a second, I like to pull maybe like 10 hashtags. Like if I've got 3 different things in my picture that are 3 different content keys for me, I can use 3 different sets of hashtags to pull people into the photo. So as an example, let's say I'm working on a YA fantasy novel and I have a cup of coffee and I also have my desk. Well, I might use 10 coffee hashtags, 10 fantasy reader hashtags, and then maybe a workspace, 10 workspace hashtags. And so then if people are following those hashtags, they might find me through one of those, and then they might stay because of the other aspects. So this was the other really cool thing from that Hootsuite. It showed the majority of Americans using Facebook and YouTube, and this had YouTube at 73% and Facebook at 68%. And then, and this is just Americans, and it's going from 2012 to 2018. And it has Instagram at 35% above Pinterest, Snapchat, LinkedIn, Twitter, and WhatsApp. And WhatsApp is owned by Facebook as well. They also have a huge platform. So Facebook owns 3 major platforms. And then this is Content 6. And so this is something that I still fill out, I don't know, probably every month or 2. I'll call my sister and I'm like, listen, I don't know what to post. So like if anyone's like, I don't know what to post, I feel that way all the time because I feel like I've got too much going on and I don't know where to focus. So when Jill created this concept, which is now I've seen it called the top 6, like people are talking about this idea now, but she came up with this so long ago. These are really just umbrella categories for you to say, okay, who am I right now? Because these can change. And it can change on what book you're writing or what's going on in your life right now. Like, so I've got a mom book coming out. So mom memes are part of my Content 6 right now, and in a year they might not be. I might have moved to something else, and that Platinum Faith is coming out. So part of my Content 6 for the future will be more Bible quotes and Bible journaling and those kinds of things as I start digging into the audience marketing for that book. So I don't know, I can stop the screen if everyone's got this. And we
can you give us some other examples? Let's say in the month of July, what would be your Content 6?
So moms is one of my umbrella categories. So when I do this, I write down the umbrella category and then I make a list of like 1 through 7 underneath of that. So in July, I would be, what I want to talk about is vacationing with kids, travel with kids, projects and activities to do before school starts, and maybe get a leg up on what's going on with school. And like a good way to know what your audience is looking for is to look in Pinterest. Because if you go in the search bar, you will see your recent searches, but you'll also see what your audience is searching for. And that can let you know what to start pinning, but it can also let you know what kind of content you need to be like maybe talking about right away. And then this is something that I just started because all the planners, you guys know I love the planners. July starts like a whole new planner run. And so I got this, I love this one. They did a collaboration with this amazing illustrator whose name is Wrong, just like right here. And so she has like all these collections out. So I got this little one, it's called a mini, and then I'm using it for social media calendar. So I outlined July, And so I just make sure I can see what I've got in here. So because planners is going to be one of the big ones for me with like organization coming up, I'm going to do Plan With Me on Sunday. And then I also want to be blogging. So I've got blog ideas for here. And then I want to do the YouTube videos that go along with the blog content and send out an email on those days. And so this is becoming my calendar for how I hit my website, my social, and YouTube, all from the same content for the week.
I like that.
And this would be the let's see, I have client stuff on there, so I'll just do like a hide names. So then on the days, I filled out with stickers, and then put like what I needed to do for social media wise on that day. So it was helpful for me to have it not in my family planner, like the one that is my main one. It was helpful to have it in a separate section. So then if I'm focusing, okay, I'm going to work on, I've got an hour to do marketing, then I can look in here and say what's coming up, what's next, and kind of stay on track. So
Now, this,
I'm just starting.
this shows what I don't know. Can you pre-schedule Instagram, like with Tailwind or one of those scheduler things? I don't know if Tailwind, I know Tailwind does Pinterest. I don't know if they do Instagram.
I think they do Instagram as well. I use Meet Edgar, and they have API is what you're looking for. It has an API connection, but it doesn't automatically post Instagram for you. So like you still have to actually manually put it in. But like for Meet Edgar, for example, we can put the photo, the captions, the hashtags all scheduled, and then I get a little notification on my phone saying, okay, it's time to post, and then it opens into Instagram for me, and it copies the caption that I wrote for me too. So it's just really like 2 clicks, and I can do it on my computer, which I like so much better.
And Rhonda says Buffer will pre-schedule Instagram on that
Are
way.
we happy about
Yeah, Dory has a question on the Content 6. She says, what about building brands for different genres? Like, how do you unify them in your social media accounts? Like you do both fiction and nonfiction, or like Michelle does children and in nonfiction. You know, how do you kind of build, what would be an example of Content 6 for that? Children might be its own content.
Yeah. So for Michelle, I would say her Content 6, if you look at her Instagram, is fishing, because she loves to fish. So she's always posting about that. Children's books would be an entire separate category for her. Her other writing might all be considered into one other thing. She also does a lot with her grandkids. And so being a grandma would also be one, which works well with the children's books because they're the buyers. She also likes the Cubs, but she doesn't post a ton about that. But I mean, she could use that for baseball season.
Yeah.
She was a sports journalist. I mean, so you can identify different things. Can I show you guys one of the Instagram accounts that I love the most, that I think that I'm going to start, I want to start kind of modeling my own after her a little bit. Let me give you guys the link to the Hootsuite. And for the recording, it's blog.hootsuite.com/Instagram-statistics is where I got a lot of the updated content for today. And then this lady, I always show her in my Instagram classes because she does, I think she has a Content 3, not even a Content 6. So if you're looking, it's instagram.com crime by the book. And let me just show you how easy it can be to do book things. So can you see her account? Is it up? Okay.
Yes,
so
it is.
For anyone who was wondering what stories were, this is her profile picture. And if it has this pretty color around it, it means there's something in her story for the day. She's uploaded a photo or a video or something. If there's not that color ring, there's no story there. But here's where she's got her highlights, current reading. She went to New York. I don't know what her blog. So you can even have one for your blog. So she's got 68,000 followers here. And she's really doing 3 things. She is a book reviewer for crime fiction. I would say her Content 3 would be coffee, crime novels, and maybe scarves, and maybe socks, because those are usually the things that I see her picture. But she doesn't show her face. So this is what she does. And like this picture, you'll probably see the same outfit 10 or 12 photos down, because I think she takes a bunch of photos on the same day with different books. Every once in a while, she's got a bookstore post. And so then let me see. So this is an example of a microblog. Is it big enough on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so she gives a little bit of white space here. So she kind of follows the same formula. She shares a little bit about what she's doing, like a personal something, talking about her lunch break. And then she goes into the book itself a little bit. I mean, look how long this is. This is a microblog. But she's got emojis. And then she gets a lot of engagement. And she also responds to people. So responding to people in the comments also like boosts your engagement as well. So like that's just one example. Like here's another one. So I found myself in the library a couple weeks ago, and I pulled up her account and scrolled past all the new releases to find a book I might actually find in the library based on her suggestions. And so sometimes in one of her stories last week, she did a look at her bookshelf and went through like 10 of her most recommended books. Like if you hadn't been following for her for a while, I started screenshotting them because when I'm going on staycation next week and I want to read all of those books. So this is how I know about this. So if you're writing thriller or crime, don't you want her posting your book on her site? And this is all it is. The pictures are not hard. She just has a filter on top of them. I mean, this is what I want to do as an author in my genre. I want to do this for YA, and I want to do this for Christian living when books are coming out. Maybe go to the library and take a bunch of photos at once. You know, maybe grab an old Starbucks cup or something and stick it on the table, but just batch a bunch of photos. And this is the kind of thing we should be doing, I think, as writers and authors, and I'm speaking to myself here. This is the direction that I want to go to because she builds so much trust with her readers here, and I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's so pretty.
That's a great example. Oh, Bethany, you have shared wonders with us today. Just wonders. Yay! And stuff. And tell you, the time just flew on that. And like I said, I've just got to get back on Instagram. That's for certain. On that way, I like what Rhonda said, that when I think she was referring to your planner, she said, "No wonder you get so much done because you're using a rifle, not a shotgun." And I think that is a beautiful an analogy for all of us to think about, is to do some of these as rifles, not shotguns and stuff. Yeah. Well, that sounds violent, though, doesn't it? In that way.
I think I've got 7 planners that I use.
Oh, gosh.
Well, so we need to have a planner day again.
Yeah,
we really do, to share how we use them and stuff. Melissa, write that idea down for our admin meeting.
I can show you how to compartmentalize.
Yeah, we should do that. So we definitely need to have us all there, because I've been trying to do some unique things with planners lately too. So I bet we could almost make it a free-for-all and share it. A planner today on Writer's Chat. She's got it, she says, on that way. Hey, while the recording's still going, I just want to thank you again, Bethany. You always inspire us and give us we love your energy and your excitement for this. And we know we're getting up-to-date info, one, between your experiences and all the contacts you have professionally, but also because you're working on your master's. How close are you to getting done? You're getting close, aren't you?
Yeah, my last class ends in January, and I will tell you, like, the professor I have now is the most subjective grader. Like, I'm fighting for every point in this class right now. Like, he has the final separated into 2 different weeks. It's like a massive final project. I'm like, I think he lives for this class. I don't know. Like,
wow.
Almost done.
So we'll have extra prayers for you right now. Hey, while we're still on the recording too, I want to tell you all what about next week is. And this is sort of related to planners, is that it's halfway through the year, kiddos. Do you believe that? Halfway through. And we're going to just take a mid-year kind of goal review, recheck, reset. This is a great time to catch your breath and think about what you want to get done, because next thing, it's like bingo, we were to July. Well, bingo is going to be December 31st. It will go quick. So let's it's going to be just a good time to touch base. So between now and next week, and probably what we'll do is we'll have several of you stay on, and maybe if Jan and Melissa and Norma's with us, we'll have those guys come on too for a little bit, and we'll just do a little sharing. But I want all of you to think about, because we might bring you in a little bit early to share something that maybe has worked well for you this year so far, maybe something that you wish you would have been a little bit better at, because if you think about it and verbalize it, or even better, write it down, you will get it done. It's powerful to do that. You guys know that as writers. And maybe figure out something you haven't started yet, but you kind of wanted to. Me, it'll be Instagram, that I wanted to in 2019, and it's been on my list every month since the January, and it's not done. And that way, or maybe something new that's come up. I mean, and some of you guys have gotten contracts or have gotten a new idea since January. And then I think it'll be good for us to talk about, and I'll have some other things to share about mid-year goals next week too. And again, Bethany, thank you. Johnny, do you want to say anything last minute while we're still on the recording about this morning?
Yeah, the week after that, Bethany will be back to do more on marketing too. So it'll be the goals, and then more on marketing. And yeah, just to kind of really quick go back to this gal that Bethany was showing us. You know, as writers, we are all in a position to become influencers for whatever genre we're writing in. And I don't know that this gal writes, but she certainly probably not, but she certainly made a name for herself as the crime book expert. But if you're writing historical fiction, start reading historical fiction, start promoting historical fiction. Let those authors know that you're promoting their books. Put them on BookBub as your favorites. Put them on Goodreads, make a list. You start doing that, and you're going to be building a platform, and you're also going to be starting to engage with these people who later, you know, and this isn't why you do it, but, you know, you build those relationships. And when you have a book come out, they may be very happy to return the favor. So think of yourself as an influencer in your genre and how you can do that.
And you're not faking it. You are. You can be. You know, yeah.
You're enjoying the books. You're loving them. You're reading them anyway. So, you know, use that.
With those, go ahead.
So when we're thinking of content, again, I'm going back to Gary Vaynerchuk because I love him so much, and he always talks about just documenting your day. And as writers, document the writing time. Document, that's your marketing. That's your social media. Today, I learned about Joseph Stalin because I'm writing a historical romance. So why not have 3 tips in your social media, or do a did you know, or something like that. Just pull it out, and now all of a sudden everyone who loves the, you know, those historical things will find you from hashtags. Like, you can document the writing life. I always think it's boring, but pull the research out, right? And attract people that way. Just document your life.
It's a good idea.
Your stories and Instagram.
What you're researching. That is great. That's a final great tip for us to finish up with. And so for those of you that are still here with us in the chat, we'll have you come on back in for our after party as soon as we stop the recording, or you can start coming on in now. And if you're in Writers Chat jail, let us know and we'll get you out. There's a couple of them I had on that. And we will see you all next week. Thank you for watching the replay if you're watching the replay. And thanks again, Bethany. You always inspire us and keep us going. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.